tomorrow. Everything is Central Time now. I love it that the government is always controlling the time. You know, Steve Falconer, I think the governor has a control issue. I just don't know. You think they got control
funny,
issues?
isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, you're looking very well, Patrick. We both wore our pink today, so it must have been destined to be.
Yeah, we got the pink memo. So how have you been doing, Crazy Steve? I just love your work and everything that you do. What are you up to these days? What are you really passionate about these days?
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, to be honest, I've been a little bit of a laryngitis. I'm a rock and roll singer and had 4 gigs this weekend, and I was in full laryngitis yesterday. So forgive me if I'm a little sound like razor blades scratching on a record.
No,
but
you sound great.
But yeah, I'm doing well. I'm still working on that film with Dr. Mark Bailey, his end to virology dissertation, or farewell to virology. And I've been, I don't think I'm allowed to announce it, but there's a very large conference coming up. And it's all of the Team No Virus and other people and all of these great roundtable discussions. And I was invited onto 4 of them by Alex Eck. So I've been recording those, and I'm also doing one for the people for Anarchapulco. They're doing a little offshoot video one as well, and I've gotten invited to that. So I've been recording a lot of conferences and doing some radio and trying to have a personal life in between, and all kinds of crazy stuff, man. So
the virus get together, that's for the public, and where is that, and when is that?
It's going to be released. There's a lot of discussions, so they have to be edited, and we've been pre-recording them, and then they need to be put together and edited. The public will have access to them for free. Don't quote me. I think it's about 2 weeks or so, and then you will be able to download the whole shebang after anyway for a pretty low price. So it's a really exciting conference, and we're covering everything. It's sort of like it's called The End of COVID.
Yes.
And it's about sort of moving on from there. What happened? How was it set up? What did they do? And where do we go from here? Because they're trying it again. I don't know if you saw recent articles. Russia is trying to say there's a new I think they're calling it Arcturus, the bear, as we talked about once, the constellation that goes around the North Pole. That's the new deadly COVID variant that's hitting Russia, and 4 people are sick with the sniffles. And
it's good to have a new one. You know, we need a new one.
Well, they're still pushing the same old one. That's the whole joke, is you're like, we all know there's no COVID, and those who think it was still even think it's the flu. So get out of here. At least come up with something new, fake
get
and
out
deadly.
Of here. Forget about it.
You know what I mean? These people are ridiculous.
Steve, on this conference, was it all of the usual suspects, the Cowan, Kaufman, Baileys, yourself, who all? Mike Stone, was Mike in it?
They're all there, plus many more. I did a great one with Jakob Diaz on ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. I did one with Eric Coppolino and Michael Bryant on how they set this whole thing up. So I think unfortunately, Michael Bryant had some audio issues, so he's going to be edited in later. But we're actually, I'm in the opening roundtable of this whole thing that comes out. So. Yeah. And that got pretty esoteric, I have to say. Eric Coppolino wasn't messing around. He came out shooting. And I had all my research ready to kind of ping off of Michael Bryant's work, because I knew Eric was going to go out in space. And I can go out in space too.
Yes, you have. You can do that. That's why I like you.
So Michael wasn't there. So Eric and I ended up just going right off the deep end from the beginning. But I don't think that was the mission operation, but that's how it worked. And then I've got one later with Dr. Berlando and Dr. Amanda Volner on esoteric biochemistry and the cell salts, most in particular.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, they're both great. So cell salts are cool. They're good. I mean, you've heard so many counter arguments about these things over the years. People say, I know those things. But do you believe that they're valuable?
Well, I mean, I was, you said it was archives. I was listening to your show the last hour. People were, I guess that didn't happen live, but they used to use them to cure tinnitus, ringing in the ears.
Huh.
They used to use them to cure digestion problems. One of your guests had been saying, sometimes you can't digest because you're actually having two various Lyme problems. One of them would be your digestion is run by your lime phosphate or calcium phosphate, and that is all your digestion. And then another one is run by your potassium fluoride of lime. Sorry, your calcium fluoride, which is called Cancer and Sagittarius or Capricorn. I've got a story here actually. So there was a guy called King George V of England, and he was very ill. He was in semi-paralysis of the organs, malnutrition, and they got all these doctors in attendance, but they couldn't get him well. No matter what they did for him nutritionally or medicinally, nothing happened. So they got this biochemist, Dr. Dodds. He was a professor of biochemistry in London, and they found out that he was deficient in his Capricorn salt, the calcium phosphate, which is your digestion. So no matter what food you eat, if you can't digest it, you won't take in the nutrients and the minerals. And there is a bit of a catch-22, because if you're trying to get your calcium phosphate from food, but you can't digest the food, you'll never take it in. So this Professor Dodds gave him biochemically prepared salts that digest under the tongue, and he got better. And then he was able to start digesting the food, the healthy food, and then the paralysis went away, and he got better. There were some other salts he had to take to correct the rest of the system, but it's the same with the tinnitus and the ringing of the ears. You know, it's swelling in the blood, in the ears, and in the brain, and so if you can take these minerals, you can reduce this, and the ringing will go away, or stop ringing so severely anyway if you have a severe case. So I'm a big fan of the biochemical salts.
And then I think Santos, or maybe you did, you can look at your birth month, and then that would be a good one to take as well if you want to do something extra. Is that how that works?
Yeah, and you have to use tropical astrology, not sidereal.
Well, of course.
So
it's always something.
Well, it's not, because sidereal is based on what you see in the background, right? So you look up in the sky and the sun or the moon is in this constellation behind it. That's not what's going on. There's a fixed energy belt around the sun's path, around the top of our flat plane. And the science is built on you could call it an imaginary or fixed energy wave pattern around that spiral, not what you see in the sky. So they talk about the precession of the equinoxes, how they're going backward and backward and backward. But it doesn't matter. Like, no matter what a human looks up in the sky and what constellation you see in the background, the leaves will not come out on the trees. The groundhog will not come out of his den, right? The flowers will not bloom until the Aries energy is there. It doesn't matter if you see Aries in the sky as the sun rises or not, or if the equinox, the visual one, precessed to now you're seeing Virgo in the sky behind the sunrise. It doesn't matter. The Aries energy is spring, right? So that's the difference between sidereal astrology and tropical. Tropical is worried about the zodiac belt around the ecliptic, the path the sun takes, not the stars way behind the sun that you see the sun in.
I see.
Right? So the science of your birth chart, it's very important that you use tropical astrology for your sign and not sidereal, or you will be taking the wrong salts. But yeah.
So how do I figure out if I'm Scorpio in the regular one? How do I figure out the tropical one?
Well, October 23rd to November 22nd is Scorpio and tropical. Right. What's your birthday?
November 7th.
Yeah, so you would use Scorpio for the cell salts. So Scorpio is lime sulfate. That's calcium sulfate, and that's your procreative organs, your vascular coatings in your veins, and your casts. So the problem is people born in Scorpio, it seems like, I think we might have talked about this before, it seems like we don't cook long enough. We cook 9 months in the womb, but there's a 12 salt mineral system that builds our body, and sure as shit, you're always deficient in the month you're born and the 2 before that. So you as a person sometime in your life might have problems with your procreative organs or your vascular coating. You might suffer ulcers and things like that. This is one of the reasons real astrologers who know the tropical system can tell you what kind of physical ailments you might have at periods in your life, because they do correspond with where you're born and what you're deficient. Now, I personally believe we are supposed to cook for 12 months. I've never seen nature make a mistake and make anything deficient, but it does in humans. But they say, well, we're born at 9 months.
Whatever, yeah, that we started coming out early for whatever reason.
Well, they say because the mother's hips, because we're too big at 12 months, like no woman's hips can push out a 25-pound baby. Yeah. It's not going to happen. But did they used to? Or did we used to not? Because most animals, they're born walking already. They can walk right up to the mother and start sucking on the teat immediately. We're one of the very few species that drops out like, we can't do anything, And it's very strange. It's not natural.
That's really interesting. So I certainly have had my digestive challenges, I would say, over the years. It's always been kind of my weak link, if I want to use that term. Don't like to use that on my tummy. But so I do the calcium sulfate. I think that's the one I've been taking every day since talking
calcium
to you.
Phosphate you want, lime phosphate, and then you want your other one. You want your fluoride of lime, which is calcium fluoride.
So I'm going to do the 2 months before calcium sulfate, right?
Yeah. I mean, what I personally do is I take all 12 every day. I don't take them medicinally. So I can show people here.
Yeah. So you take all 12 of them, but that's different than from taking the one that has all the 12 in there, right?
I take the 12. Yeah, I can't. Yeah. So I've got a few thousand in this one. I got it in London. So my strategy is preventative. And, you could get sick and have a deficiency and then start taking them medicinally several times a day until the ailment subsides. But to me, I just think, why would you just not take them daily a little bit and be efficient? Like putting oil in your car. You could not put oil in your car and then wait for the engine to break down and then go get the engine fixed. Or you could just change your oil and not have that happen. You know what I mean? That's my strategy.
And do we know why we don't get these little goodies in the food, Steve Falconer? I mean, has that been...
We do get it in the foods, but first of all, our soil is very denatured because of the way they do industrial farming. They don't do the one straw revolution, or now everyone like we did with our farm. We're getting into electro-culture, which we can talk about in a little bit if you want.
Yeah. We've looked
so at that. The problem is that the foods don't have the minerals they used to have because the ground is mineral depleted because of the way they farm and pesticides, chemicals, spraying, and a lot of other things. So it's that we're not getting them in the food like we used to. And again, as I said, if you're missing the digestive ones anyway, because your food doesn't have them, you're not going to start digesting them out of regular food anyway. And you're going to get a catch-22 that keeps cannonballing and spiraling out of control. One of the lucky things we have now, because since the 1800s, we are in the age of biochemical preparations, is you can now get them. I don't like to say supplements because I don't take supplements, but if you just get these and put them under your tongue, they just dissolve right into your bloodstream, whether you can digest or not is of no consequence. So we're very lucky that we're in a technological age that you can actually get these in you directly without having to eat them. In fact, you had a guy, Adam Bergstrom, when I was listening, right. He said the same. He said, well, if you can't digest the food, just let it digest in your mouth and take them right in under the tongue.
And folks, you could probably go to Bear's site, Bearlando. He sells them, right? I think Bear
he makes them and sells them. Yeah, he makes
them. Which is Alpha Vedic. So we know they're good stuff if Bear's doing it. And you could buy all 12 and just take them all if you wanted?
Yeah, I just take them daily, like 4 or 5 of them a day, just to make sure my body has them, because I know a lot about health, and I get a lot of emails because of the films I make of people asking, showing me pictures of the red bumps
their worms and things
like my mother is in the hospital. I'm like, I'm not a doctor. The reason I take them is because I'm a rock and roll performer and singer, and I drink, I smoke. Sometimes I indulge in some other fun things, right?
Oh, you don't. You don't. I'm just so shocked.
I try to eat healthy, but I take these cell salts exactly to offset that I do some very unhealthy habits. And so I would be ridiculous not to offset that somehow. That's why I take them. And I never get sick, ever. Never.
Never, ever. Well, you're a happy guy, too, and that's a big deal, right? I mean...
There's that as well. Yeah, I think, Bruce Lipton said that. Have you ever talked to Bruce?
I have not. No, I've seen his work. It's good stuff. Yeah.
He's crazy. You should get him on. I think you two would get on Peaches and Cream, but he made a good point. I don't like the word epigenetics. I don't really like that name for what he teaches, but the biology of belief is what he teaches. He made a good point. He said, when you meet a woman or a man or whatever you are, when you're first in love, when you really meet someone special and you're just you can't stop thinking about them and you're in love. He said, are you ever sick during those first 3 months of that honeymoon period? Never. You're bouncing around like you're the sun, baby. You're out he's like, you never get sick ever, even in the middle of flu season, because you're vibing on this whole other goodness thing, and you just don't get ill, And that always stuck with me. I'm like, you're right. There's so much to placebo and nocebo, but as the biochemists will say, they don't care what system of medicine you're using. If you are deficient in the parts your body needs to run, no system will heal it. German new medicine or electric or acupuncture or whatever. Your body is physical. It's spiritual as well, and alchemical and electric, and it's water driven with structured water, but it is physical. And if you don't put the parts in your car that make a car run, if you don't change your spark plugs, I don't care how good your carburetor is, how decent your gas is, it won't run. I'm not saying we're a machine. I'm saying we're like a machine in that way. Right?
We're talking with Steve Falconer. If you care to join us, the phones are still out. It's been 1 month since the ice. We had the 2 inches of global cooling or whatever it was. It was great. It was 2 inches of something, and they broke the line, but they're still working on it. So to communicate this morning, Patrick at OneRadioNetwork.com. Well, I mean, the whole love thing, that is all there is, right? The whole universe is just love. So to Lipton's point, when we are in love, and if we can stay in love, even if it's with our dog or ourselves or God, then things are good. Most likely you're not going to get sick. Yeah, most likely.
I don't even know what love is. I think that the definition we are given about love is not really what love is. I think we were given more of a superficial idea about it. I love this woman, and I like all the rest of you. I feel very strongly about everyone else. You know what I mean? I don't think that that's what love really is at all. I think love is not like an emotion or a thought or a feeling. I think it's an energetic expression. I think it's grace or gratitude. People say, well, I think it also our Western culture, because we come from these Abrahamic religions, God has to give you grace. All you got to do is say, thank you, Jesus, and you get the grace of God, except funny enough, not everyone gets it when they ask for it. And so the question is, what is grace? And it's gratitude. I know a lot of people who have healed themselves by just picking 20 things throughout the day that they really appreciate. The fact that your socks are warm and not wet and your feet aren't cold. The fact that I have a light here and I don't have to read in the dark. The fact that I have glasses because my eyes are getting a little older and I can't read 2 feet in front of my face. And they say it out loud every day. I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for that. That is grace, and grace is love.
Yeah.
Because if you love everything about this place, instead of just sit there bitching on the internet all day about, did you hear the latest terrible thing that happened to us? This world is terrible and it's going to hell. And it's like, this world had gone to hell 2,000 years ago, but it's still heaven. Where do you want to be? You want to be in the hell part of this world or heaven? And the joke is, sitting right in your same seat, you could be in the heaven part or the hell part without even moving locations.
Yeah, well
That's
said.
the biggest secret on earth.
Yeah, well said. I played with that too. I had this symptom of a heartburn thing, Steve, for a long time, like right up near my, and it was just every night or something. And I eventually healed it through going into it and loving it, loving it. In other words, not saying, oh, I don't like it, just the opposite. Just in the middle of the night, just moving into it and feeling it and saying, oh, I love you, thank you, well, who are you, what are you, And I worked with it for months and months and months, and eventually just went away.
Quite amazing. Well, I think, that's Bruce Lipton's work.
Yeah.
Is that you're like what like cellular biology, for starters, is theoretical. I know there are red and white blood cells, and we do find cells on the exterior of dying tissue or sick tissue. I'm not so sure there are cells in regular normal tissue. I think they're debris. Like when a tissue is sick or dying, not red and white blood cells. We've seen those and studied them. They just might compartmentalize into these little things we call cells to get rid of garbage, right? But that aside, what he's saying, whether you want to call it cells or tissue, he's saying the theory behind epigenetics is your cells, let's say they are real. They don't know there's a real threat out there or not, because they don't have eyes, ears, noses. They can't. Your mind, your brain tells them there's a lion coming, run, and your brain makes the chemical changes to release the, what do you call that? What the hell's the name of it? When you get all excited and you get these hormones rushing in, adrenaline.
Adrenaline, yeah.
All this. Your brain is giving all the chemical signals to make the cellular or biological changes, if you don't believe in cells, to do something. And if your brain is in a constant state of fear that there is a threat there that isn't really there, your tissues or cells don't know that. They're depending on your mind to tell them that. They don't know there's a lion there or not. If you tell it there's a lion there and there's not, they will still do the same chemical reaction. And so that's really what he's about, is saying he's coming from the idea that most of the problems we're having biochemically is because we're perceiving things incorrectly, or maybe people are doing it on purpose to us, which I would definitely agree with. So you never get the healing and the rest and the things you need, because you have this perceived threat that isn't really there. And the ancient, the sadhus and gurus, they all say that. They say that the basis of your fear is you're lost in your imagination. You're either worried about what happened in the past or what might happen in the future. In reality, you're sitting there right now in your chair talking to me, no matter what New World Order is coming, right exactly now. Nothing bad is happening to either of us.
And there's only now, and I know that for sure. I mean, I would bet the farm on that. And if there's only now, and you and I are sitting here, there's absolutely nothing that can hurt us. There's nothing that can get us, unless one of us would say, oh, I wonder if I going to get that. Okay, well then, then you're in, then you're in, right? Then you're in.
Yeah, the only thing that can hurt you right now is you.
That's right.
We're wasting right now worrying about what might happen to you tomorrow or what happened to you last. All I want to do is sit here and think about how my father was mean to me, or I might get cancer. It's like, but right now, you're wasting right now worrying about what happened yesterday or what might happen tomorrow. They're not real. So you will do it. Yeah, there could come a time you're up against an executioner's wall and a bullet hits you in the head. That right now is a very bad right now.
That's a bad now.
It does happen. We've all had bad crap happen to us. But if you take your whole entire life and divide by the exact moments where something really shitty happened, like the phone call you get that your mother just passed away, that's not nice. I'm not saying you can pretend, well, I'm still okay right now. Of course you'll be sad, but all those moments don't even equal a fraction of all the nothing's going on really to you right now. But yet people put 90% of their consciousness on that, on the little tiny moments, and the spiritualists have known this forever, but trying to teach this to someone is almost impossible. It's like you have to realize this yourself.
Yes.
It cannot be taught. It can be told, right? Do you agree with that? But it can't be taught.
Absolutely. Spirituality or awareness has to be caught and not taught is one of the lines that might has to be caught and not taught. Yeah, I'm doing a screenplay called Look and See, and it's about this investor who's over-caffeinated, and he needs a deal, and he finds this fellow, and he's kind of like a spiritual master, but we don't know it, and he puts him into a machine, and then our hero gets to see exactly how the mind, body, soul thing works. So it's really cool. It's the idea, like you're saying, you can't teach this stuff. You can say it and go to seminars and say, okay, but you have to experience it, right? You have to experience it to have some kind of feeling or reality about it. Does that make sense? You have to experience it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not even sure feeling is the best word. It's a good word. It's a better word than a. It's like a knowing, or it's a gnosis, really. Maybe more a knowing, or it's not believing and it's not thinking that this is how it is.
Right.
And feeling is part of that, because your feelings all your feelings is a mirror reflecting what you know already, and they're showing you. So yeah, in a way, you're right. I don't think we even have a word in English that really describes it, but it's like when you have these enlightenment moments, you could get it through deep meditation. Some people get it just walking around on Tuesday afternoon at 10:42 a.m. Yeah, they're just like, oh my God.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah, one with everything.
I've never thought about that before. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, some people drop a bunch of acid or eat a lot of mushrooms and have this feel like there's a lot of ways you can have this understanding that, oh my God, I'm one with everything. I'm not a stranger here. Yeah. I came out of here. I didn't visit here. I come from here. I'm this, and this is me. But you can say that philosophically. Alan Watts, the philosopher, was very good at explaining this. But if you don't feel that, it's not the same. You don't get this euphoric rush, and you don't stop worrying about stuff because you seem to forget it.
Exactly. It's almost like doing an affirmation, but just saying it and not really, deep down knowing it. I really know that I'm okay. There's nothing that can hurt me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know that. And I really do. And I'm sure you do, because and once you know that, it's a big deal, because, nothing can hurt you unless I think it can. Something could kill you, but so what? You're eternal. Yeah, sure. An elephant could sit on your house or something, but
yeah, but
that's karma's a bitch. If you got elephant karma,
total.
What
exactly. Yeah, and exactly. And for me, when I had this realization, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, it finally dawned on me. And I just have been having the greatest time ever. It made me realize I was using the totally wrong approach about all of this and with people. And I thought I had to save the world and wake everyone up, and the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and the do-gooders are the worst in the world. And I thought, it's not my job to save the world. And once you let that pressure off your shoulders, you're having a good old time. I don't like a lot of the stuff going on in the world, but I can accept that it's going on, and it's terrible. It's horrific, but I can accept that that's how it is. I can do my part to try to change what parts I can, but I'm off the hook, and I'm off the hook with myself too. I don't have to be perfect. I make mistakes, and quite a lot of the pressure we go through comes from a lot of Western religions. You have to be like Jesus, and you're like, well, you told me Jesus is the Son of God, is God incarnated. So how am I supposed to live up to that?
Exactly.
But God says I'm born in original sin, but you want me to be like God reborn. The whole thing's ludicrous. So it's like, yeah, we all mess up.
I spent about, I don't know, 10 years in a grade school called Our Lady of Perpetual Payments, and we have sisters with rulers and slapping your hands, and the whole thing was about sin, and you can't do that, and mortal sins, and venial sins, and purgatory, and it took a long time for me to shake all those off, boy, I tell you what.
Oh, yeah.
Man,
I saw a video recently about he was like a pretty big archbishop in England, and then he was getting like these teen boys to come to him, and then he's like, we have to pray naked because Jesus had temptation and sin, and he was like getting these kids to shower in front of him and pray naked, and then eventually he's touching them, and and he's like, the only way to absolve our sins like Jesus is to go through this, and he's just molesting these teenage boys, taking advantage, and then he would say, oh, well, I thought you were one of the chosen ones, but no, if you don't let me touch your pee-pee, you're just like, dude, what is your major malfunction? but the truth is, because these priests are kept sexually stifled, and all that,
sure.
They have desires and stuff too. So in a way, the guy's disgusting. He's a filthy pig, but I get why he's like that, because he also has suppressed all these feelings, and he just gets off like, getting naked and hugging not little, they were teenage boys, but still. And you're just like, man, it's.
I think I've thought about that, the pedo people and Stephen, all these things going on. And I really, in a way, have compassion for these people. And even though they're just bonkers and do terrible things, I think they just have this deep hurt and fear and stuff deep, deep down there. And this is the only way they can get at it. You know what I mean? It's almost like they've got to keep doing these bizarre things so they can get at this deep hurt and that they've somehow, it's just.
It is kind of. I don't know. I can't. I don't want. Yeah, I don't want to generalize, but when you see a lot of the people who are into that pedo crap and all that stuff, they don't usually look like the kind of people who are very successful with the ladies growing up, or the boys if they're gay or whatever they are. They're usually not very handsome and not very personable. And it's like kids are the only ones they can, have some kind of magnetic overhold on. Not that it's always that way. I'm sure there are some very good-looking pedos who also had good luck with men and women or whatever. But in general, so I'm the same with you. You have to understand now that's the other problem that we have in society. We're all taught democracy. Right? They keep pushing the Pledge of Allegiance says to the republic for which it stands, not to the democracy. So democracy is mob rules. In other words, 18 guys rape a woman and you take a vote to see if it's okay or not. And it goes, funny enough, it goes down 17-1. It was fine. That's democracy. That doesn't mean it's right. And we get the same. So out of democracy comes the differentiation we call ethics and morals. And a lot of people think that's the same, and it's not. Ethics come from within you. It's your inner knowing of what is right and wrong. Morals are dictated by society.
Yes. Yeah.
They're opposed on you. Ethics come from in you outward. Morals come from society in. Don't you agree?
Yes.
So ethically, you might think it's terrible to invade Iraq. But morally, the society told you, no, that bastard's got weapons of mass destruction. Right? So society says, yeah, you can blow them to the Stone Ages, but you might say, no, I wouldn't blow anyone to the Stone Ages no matter what they did. So
Steve,
this is the trouble with...
I think that ethics also involves actions that are good for the whole. That's the way I look at it, that I'm trying to do everything that I do, even though I don't try to save the world, as you say, it is also beneficial for everybody. To me, that's an ethical action.
Great point. Yeah. And when you mean everybody, you mean everybody.
Everybody. I mean everybody, right?
Totally. Yeah. And morals is democracy. It's not good for everybody, but it's what's good for our group.
Yeah.
It's good for us.
I loved it when Quentin Tarantino would talk about morals. He said, I don't do morality. He said, my characters can do whatever they want. I don't want to put my morality into what they do. I think that's great. Yeah, right.
I can't believe he's not canceled yet, because some of the stuff his characters say in those movies.
I know. It's just crazy.
Wow, yeah. I don't know how he hasn't been canceled yet. Maybe he doesn't care.
Oh, I don't think, he doesn't probably care much.
You know?
Steve Falconer is with us, Patrick Timpone, OneRadioNetwork.com. So I want to ask you about, this is way off the subject, but with you, I know that you don't care. We just go anywhere. When I do postings on my little Facebook thing, which I can't believe I still do that, about the immovable Earth, and then, I just say, well, you just can't show me a picture of a spinning ball surrounded by space. And when you do that, well, then I'm in. I'm a helio guy. Come on, show it. And of course, they send me all these CGI photos. Now, when you were on before, a couple times earlier, is there a way that you can show us how we know that these things are CGI today? Can you show some of that video you did, or is that?
I can. You know what I would actually recommend? There's a new film that I've been waiting for years for a good flat Earth documentary to come out. There's a new one out, just came out, called Level With Me. Have you seen this yet?
No. Who put it out?
I can't remember the guy's name who produced it, but it's got everyone, Dave Weiss, and it's all the hitters are in there, Austin Whitsitt and everybody.
Okay.
It's called Level With Me. And they go through and show you all how those Challenger astronauts are still alive. They go through and show you all the CGI and how bogus it is. They go through and show you NASA. The woman from NASA keeps saying, this looks so fake. I know it looks so fake. She's in like 20 lectures over and over going, I know this looks fake CGI, but that's what's incredible is that it's actually real. And you're like, well, then why would it look fake? If it were real, why can't you? So rather than me talk about it, it's only an hour long. That's the other good thing. It's not one of my documentaries that's 3 hours and people are like, good God, man, make a point. So it's about 55 minutes an hour. It's called Level With Me. And I mean, this thing will show you more than I could tell you for sure. It's a really good one.
Is it a freebie? You like YouTube or one of those places?
Yeah, it's on. I saw it on Facebook. I'm not sure if it's on YouTube, but it's called Level With Me.
Okay,
just Google Level With Me Flat Earth. If not, it'll probably be on Odyssey, BitChute, Rumble, and all those.
And all the ones.
The one I watched was going around as a Facebook post. It's really good.
Now we talked about this when we were on a couple of times ago, and then on your Space Busters on Odyssey or YouTube, you have the one with you and I, and you put with slides. So you must have added. Yeah. You must have added the CGI
I did. I added those later. Yeah.
Okay.
I've got another good one too. If people want to go to Space Busters, actually YouTube let us put this one up. I couldn't believe it. So if you go to Space Busters on either YouTube, BitChute, or Odyssey, we did one with Dave Weiss, who's called Flat Earth Dave.
Yeah, I see it right here. Bust the ball. You got it? Bust the ball.
Yeah, Dave Weiss and us, we did a really, really good one. Cool. If you want your head blown. Now, we went a lot more in that. We went a lot deeper than the usual BS physics about gravity and all that crap. Right. We went pretty much way out there in this one. So I'm not sure that's a good starter video, but if you're on the fence, and again, I don't really care if anyone thinks the Earth is a ball or a flat or a pizza shape. I don't care. But if you're on the fence or wondering, like, this guy seems pretty intelligent. How could he believe the Earth is flat? Go listen to what we're saying and we'll show you. I didn't believe it either. We thought it was nonsense when we heard about it. Dave Weiss himself used to ban people from his blogs for saying the Earth was flat. And now he's Flat Earth Dave. He's like a key figure in the movement. So there's not a single one of us who didn't think it was ridiculous until we started looking into it and went, oh my God.
Well, Steve, brother from another mother, Falconer, there's just no way we are moving. I don't know what shape it is, right? I don't know what shape it is. I don't know where it is. Maybe it's just, I was thinking about that a long time ago. I said, well, where is it then? If it's just this stationary, right? This stationary plane, well, where is it? I mean, where is it in relation to anything else? And I keep, the more I think about it, I think it's just a state of consciousness. Right, we're just a state of consciousness, just like on the astral plane is a state of consciousness, right?
Yeah.
And you can go there and travel and look around just like you can here. You can fly through walls up there. Don't try that here. And then, but down here, it's physical reality, and it's just a state of consciousness. So I think it just is. I don't, you know what I mean? I think it just is. It's not in relation to anything else because there isn't anything else. This is physical reality. That's
the
take.
thing. Yeah, it's like
this is physical reality.
If it's a toroidal field plane, the plane itself could be infinite, and there are ancient texts that say it is the middle plane of the toroidal field. Now everyone's like, "Well, where is the toroidal field in the plane?" You're like, "You're missing the point. It is it. There isn't a where. It's it, baby, and everything happening around it is it."
Yeah, isn't that exciting when you think about that? This is just it. This is physical reality. Yeah.
There could be more continents, more puddles, more whatever. There could be, but you know, that's where everyone gets caught up. Well, then what's above it and below it? And you're like, we don't know. We can't drill deeper than 8 miles down, 7.8 miles.
We don't know.
We can't go more than 7 miles or 70 miles in the air without hitting some kind of weird dome or a water firmament. We don't know. They won't let us to the Antarctic Circle. So nobody has a damn clue, and neither do they. What they do know is they can't get out. They've done all the Operation High Jump and all this.
Is that what they've been trying to do? Is actually get out? And I know they blew up some big nukes out in the South Pacific right before I landed there in the Navy 55 years ago. They were trying to bust the firmament, weren't they? They were,
or just trying to see how far up it could go and what could they do about it. Yeah, there's something there that could be liquefied air or some type of plasma density or some type of other state of water that we don't know. Not even ice. I think it's a liquid medium, clearly, because you can see the SpaceX rockets. People should just go watch this level with me. They get into all this in this documentary very deeply. Yeah, it's great.
We'll post it on we'll post it on our front page. So people have asked me, do we know? So would all the stars then would have to be underneath the firmament, right? I mean, have to be or attached to it, or could they be on the other side and we'd see them?
I mean, the firmament means solid, but the biblical firmament is actually talking about the split in the zodiac wheel. It's actually a metaphor.
Oh, is it?
Genesis isn't actually. A lot of people are like, the Bible says this. You're like, no, the Bible's making a metaphor that you think says this, and that's not what it's talking about. Right. But yes, there's something up there, and we don't know. That's the great thing is flat earthers aren't saying we know it's made of ice or it's physical or gem barrier or iron or whatever. We don't know if it's energy. We do know there's something that resembles the waters above that these ancient people talk about. Now, is it liquefied air? Is it, from potassium chloride concentrates? Is it a forced state of plasma? Is it something like that? Is it water? Is it we don't know. And that's the thing with flat earth. And I've always maintained this. I'm not so sure I want to know what the sun is and the moon and what all that is and how those stars are rotating. It's a projection, an illusion. Because to me, part of the mystery of it all is the wonder of being alive. I think it's for wonder. Wouldn't it be boring if you actually knew how it all worked and you'd be like, oh, is that it? And then you don't look at it anymore. You know what I mean?
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, you stop looking at it anymore because it's not amazing anymore. So I don't think we're supposed to know.
Do you think we could even see an object, regardless of how big it is, if it was really 93 million miles away?
You can't. With the inverse square law of light, that's impossible anyway.
It's
impossible. You can't. Yeah. Same thing. The inverse square law, you have a light. It's like go shine a flashlight on your garage wall real close, and you'll see there's the flashlight beam, very bright in the size of the flashlight. Every meter you walk backwards, that light will expand, double and lose half its luminescence. It will be half bright, then it'll be larger and half bright. So if you do that to the sun, it's impossible to see it at 93 million miles away at the size they claim it is. Same thing, you can read a book on a full moon to the luminescence of the moonlight. You can actually read a book outside in a full moon.
Yes, you can.
And when you look at the moon, it's white, and they're saying that's the sunlight bouncing off it. And then you say, well, if we're at 280,000 miles of inverse square law away from the moon, how are these astronauts walking around in the daylight up there on a gray, dark gray ground? It should be brighter than the sun. If I can read its reflection of the sun by a book at night, bouncing off the moon 280,000 miles away, it's impossible.
And the moonlight is cooler. I mean, you can measure it. It's actually
colder.
Cooler.
Yeah, it's colder.
It's colder. So what's up with that?
Yeah. So that cannot be radiative light. Yeah. Impossible.
We posted a little video by Eric Dubay about the moon landing yesterday on our front page of our One Radio Network. And you watch that thing, and there's no way, Jose, that you know that they ever walked on this moon. There's just no way.
There was foot on it.
It was such a bad, I mean, the whole thing was put out, it was terrible. I mean, they weren't even good at it. They weren't even good at it. It's like,
it's pretty bad. And, this Level With Me film just goes through more and more and more of those examples. It's so bad. Even the machine they claim landed on there, it's clearly made out of like shower poles and duct tape and silver foil. And then the thing takes off from the moon and you're like, well, who filmed that? Who filmed that, and how did you get it back? And then Nixon calls the astronauts on a landline.
Yeah, that's close, right? Unbelievable, man. So, what did you think what do you think this does spiritually or psychically to humans when they know? I kind of think everybody knows at a deep soul level that this whole thing is made up, whether it be germs or moons or whatever, waters, whatever. But if they don't really dig into it, then it's hard on them physically, spiritually. They know it's not right, but they just don't have the courage or the wherewithal or the health. I'm not criticizing them to look into it. They're worried about their job and their kids, and they're sick, and God love them. They have a hard time just doing the work thing rather than looking at these kind of things. I think it's hard on people when they, on a deep level, they know the jig is up, but they don't look at it.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of just embarrassment and I don't want to be one of those crazy flat earthers, or
sure.
Everyone's going to judge me. And then there's also like the Eastern Western philosophy, where in the Eastern religions, it gives rises to kings and the Vatican to have the right to rule because God is a tyrant. He's a patriarchy. He sent his own son down here, so there's a patriarchy going on. He loves you, but he hates you, and he's judging you, but he loves you.
And he tricked you with original sin, right, when you were born.
Yeah, it's the tyrant. Yeah, whereas the Easterners say, no, we didn't. I know a lot of New Age people. I came here from Pleiades to teach you humans a lesson. They're playing the same little game, the one-up you game. Everyone's playing it. We all play the game. So the Easterners are like, no, you came out of this world. You didn't come into it. You came out of it.
Came out of it, yeah.
Yeah, and this whole thing with the moon and the Big Bang, and we're flying at 60 million miles an hour and spinning around, and you're just an accident and a speck. That allows tyrants to rule over you because you don't understand the magnificence that you are a part of God and you are all powerful. I'm not saying you are God. I'm saying God is in everything, and everything comes from God, the center of the toroidal field. And it allows tyrants to have the right to rule over you because who are you? You're just an accidental speck of dust that exploded out of nothing, accidentally coalesced into a planet, and then a bunch of fish crawled out of the ocean, had sex with monkeys, and here you are.
And here you are. You just popped out. So a lot of people are conjecture, like Dave and the other flat earthers, that was the real motive behind these Freemason dudes, whoever brought out the heliocentric years ago, that we were getting too smart for our britches and too spiritual or something, and they wanted to convince us that we were just insignificant specks of nothingness hurtling around the sun.
There's that idea. There's also ideas that there are resets that happen, and these people come out and give us the knowledge after these civilization resets. There are quite a lot of different theories. There are also, when you really look into the heliocentric model, you can see some of it is based on actual experimentation that was done incorrectly and misunderstood. And so they said, well, it has to be there. That's why you'll notice even their model, every 30 years, the sun's getting farther away or closer,
really?
or, they're like, they keep changing it because someone does an experiment to debunk it, and then they're like, oh, well, then it has to be that. So even their own model just keeps changing and changing and changing, So, yeah, I don't really know. I wasn't there. I mean, I've heard all the theories, and I'm open to all of them. It could be none of the above, but there's also, as you and I have talked about, the idea that if you want to give people a fake name in all capital letters and want contract law where they date it, and you make a fake calendar that they brought in 500, this Annus Domini or the Gregorian calendar we're on now, and then you want to copyright all their activity, you need to be in a fake place. If you want copyright law on all the actions everyone does, you need a fake name, a fake date, and a fake timeline, and a fake place. And we have it all. We got our fake all caps name. We got a fake calendar that doesn't exist. And we got a fake globe spinning through space with monkey men on it. So
I love contemplating the idea of time because there is none. And it's even more powerful if you consider what I believe the sun is doing this thing, right? And so if the sun is moving and then we have the appearance of dark and light, somehow somebody got smart and said, well, that's a day, and then there's 24 hours in this day. Who made up that? And then there's so many minutes and there's every hour, and then there's so many seconds. Well, that's all made up. I mean, it's just made up.
They're just degrees in a circle, and they work though in astrology. When you look on when you overlay a 24-hour clock on an astrological wheel, they do make sense. There's 2 hours of energy each day, but you could have divided that any other way you wanted.
Sure,
it's still a mathematical
divided in the 12th.
It just because a toroidal field produces a wave, and there's 12 functions in a waveform. That's the only reason we're on a 12 and 24 type of calendar thing.
Oh, that's where it came from.
Clock. Yeah, because it wouldn't make sense to divide by 16 if you're on a 12 cycle. It's either 12 or 24 or 6. So that's where that comes from. But it's just really all about energy patterns and waves. But you're right. You could have divided by anything you want, really. Well, most of this comes out of astrology.
My real point is, if I'm sitting here like I am now, then the only time is the movement of the sun and the moon, right? That's the only thing that's moving. That's it. I'm not moving. So why do I need to buy into the idea of time? That's only a mental construct. That's all right. That's it. That's all it is. I've just bought into this idea of time. And when you do that, the body ages. I mean, it's got to do something, right? If you create 20 days in your mind, right? Oh, I'm going to go have Steve on the show 20 days from now. Okay. And then in 19 days from now, I say, only 19 days to go. So I create this space between now and when Steve's on the show. I create it. It's in my mind, right? It's there. What do you think the body's got to do during this time that you create it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
it's going to age. It's got to do something. It's got to go backwards or forwards because we've created an illusion of time.
Yeah, right? And there's also the Eastern idea where in the West we think there's that the present is a product of the past. The Earth, everything that happened in the past led up to this moment. But in an Eastern philosophy, you switch it around and say the past is a result of this moment. It's an echo. It's a wake behind a boat. It's an echo. The present created the past. The past didn't create the present.
Exactly,
only
because
back then
everything is erupting in the now. Spirit is coming in, expressing itself through Steve and Patrick and our guest, and we pop up and say, and then after we do then that's in the past, right? But the past didn't push us here.
That's right. It was the present back then that when we started this show, that didn't make us get to where we are now. That's an echo of where we were then.
Yeah.
And when you start to flip this around and think like the Easterners, you get it's trippy as hell.
Because it gives us personal responsibility and the motive and the availability to do whatever we want right now, whatever makes us happy. And never have to go back and say, well, what about that? No, we don't have to. We can just keep going what makes us happy. And who's out there trying to say, oh, you can't do that? Well, you want to listen to that? Well, not me. You just keep being it. Just like you talked about 3 years ago when you figure that out. You just keep doing what makes you happy.
Yeah, and one of the liberating things for me is that we've all done really dumb shit and stupid stuff in the past,
Well,
and we've hurt people. We've hurt
we
people, and we've done mean things, and we've done selfish things. But when you figure this out, that there's only now and only now,
right?
You don't sit and dwell and hate yourself. You can love yourself and forgive yourself for okay, I was an idiot. It's great if you can hunt some of those people down and say, I'm really sorry, man. I was wrong. I really was misbehaving there.
Yeah.
But then you can move on. You can change. You'll never change if you hate yourself for what you were and think that that's what you are.
You can't change. It's impossible.
You can change instantly right now. You can change right now by saying, I'm not doing that to people again.
And that's all you need to do. That's well said, Steve, because this idea that, it's the hardest thing for all of us to really love ourselves. And I mean, and I work on this a lot, and I'm walking around my home and I'll talk to myself like, Patrick, you're really doing good, brother. I love you. I do.
Yeah.
I do, because it's very powerful. It's I don't know if God's saying it or if I'm saying it, but I don't care. But it's important that we do love ourselves and forgive ourselves, right? And I like what you said about, well, you could scare up these people and write them a letter and say, man, I'm really sorry I did that. That was really dumb. And if you can do that, do it. Yeah.
Or not, even if you don't, you can in the future just say, well, I'm not going to do that to anyone else in the future again, And it's also important that you don't be a big phony about it. It's like everybody who knows this still does dumb shit in the future and will hurt people. It's not, there's all I go to yoga now and I meditate and I'm spiritual and I don't hurt it. Everyone's playing the one-up game all the time. So it's important that you understand, even if you know this, you're still not going to follow it 24/7. You're still going to do some dumbass thing. And it's okay when you do.
And what's fun for me is when the quieter I get, the more I feel it when I do it. Like you get on the phone with somebody in India trying to solve a problem and you get frustrated, right? Because they can't understand you. And it's like, come on, and then you get frustrated and get off the phone and you feel that, well, that was stupid. What good did it do? I could have just been nice to the person, and said, okay, well, how can I do this? Do you know what I'm saying? You feel it, and I don't like it. And I don't like the way that feels. So that's how I learn, say, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah. It's the old saying, right? Like, hindsight's 20/20, right? Yeah. That's why we make mistakes, so we can grow and learn. I think the more dangerous people are, if you're not making mistakes, these perfect goody two shoes, you're not growing and learning. So
you have to, right? You have to.
Yeah, I got more respect for people who are complete assholes and came up from the doldrums, and suddenly they're just a completely different person, and you go, wow.
Yeah.
You were like a seed that just spurted into a 12-foot sunflower, and instead of the tulip who just stays the same. And you don't know what the tulip's really doing down under the ground in the root system. You don't know what they're messing up behind the curtain.
Steve Falconer is with us, Patrick Timpone, OneRadioNetwork.com. Would you hang on there a second, Steve? Steve in Copenhagen?
Yeah, sure.
And then we'll take a little break with Steve Falconer. Steve is a Spacebusters guy. He lives in Copenhagen. And how is it living in Europe and the EU? You must enjoy it. You stay there.
Yeah, Denmark. I've lived in London and Asia as well for a year, but many years in London. Denmark's it's a nice place to live. It is socialist, and the government's in your ass all the time over everything. But it's a nice place to raise kids. There's not a lot of trouble here. The people are very docile. It's very much like Huxley's Brave New World here. But that said, in a way, it does work, mostly because of the brainwashing on the public. Before I forget, too, I know you're plugging your stuff to, you've got to make a living. I'm in a fortunate position where I make my living teaching and playing music, but when I do all these films, I put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in and don't get money in writing books. So if I can plug quickly,
you can plug
I am
anything you want.
we have a children's book, and it's for mostly people who homeschool, but if you want your children to wake up, called The Dukes of Dents, and it's available on all Amazon platforms. Yes, I know Amazon is the devil, but they allow us to publish these without us putting anything up front, and they do the printing and sell. So if you'd like a good book for your children, there's that.
Also, so why is it good for we have a lot of homeschoolers listen to us, rather, not me. I'm not a me, I'm an us. Why is the Dukes of why is it good for the homeschoolers, do you think? Why is it?
It's a story about two dukes who own this town inside a square fence, and the town's called Dents, and they own the schools, every business, the waterworks, the church, everything in there. And it shows how they control the people and how they get away with it. And then the children have an awakening, and it asks the child who's reading in the safety of fiction to notice these things and say, what would you do if you ever came across these two dukes and the methods that they're using, and then they get to discuss it with the adult or the reader or the minder. They can talk about it. So it's more like an awake book. I won't call it woke, but it's an awake book. And then also on all of our channels, if you do watch our films and like it, we have a Bitcoin pirate chain tip jar, and we also we recently went on to PayPal because I had a lot of people saying, well, I don't use crypto, can we donate? And we turned down a Rockfin offer. All of our films are always free on all of our platforms. We'll never charge you. If you want to watch it and not pay any money, you're welcome to do that and share it. We don't care. But I just want to remind people that I do, and Ross, my Space Busters partner, we put hundreds and hundreds of hours of our own free time in this and don't get paid like a normal job. So
yes, sir.
We do appreciate the donations. We really do. And we use it towards our farm and getting our Electro-culture garden up.
Yeah, I think it's important. And I really got more of this idea when I had the fakeologist guy on, Tim. He's fun. And he was talking about value for value. And it was a time when we were going through a dollar shortage, And it's funny how you can have a dollar shortage when there's 45 trillion of them floating around the world, but that's another story.
Funny, anyway, you're always the one short on dollars, but everyone else.
Right. So we've been talking more about that too, and I talk about it. And I think it's good that folks understand that you and me and Cowan and all these people, we're just putting this stuff out there to try to help, and this is what makes us tick, and it's our passion, and it's good to support people to do it. I send...
If you can, and if you can, I've been on Tim's show several times. Tim's great.
Yeah.
If you can, that's the thing is, if you can't, that's fine.
That's
that's the reason I don't think that you should have to charge money to get valuable information that will benefit humanity. I think it is value for value. If you watched my movie and it changed your life, throw $5 in,
exactly.
Or whatever you think it's worth.
It's a donation, yeah. Hey, Steve, get your camera can you pan your camera up a little bit? I'm losing the top of your head. You're looking like an alien. There you go.
Well, I'm bald up there anyway, so you're not missing much, but it's not like you're missing my great hairdo.
We have an emailer here that's a real long email, but I'm going to try to just kind of, he's talking about the viruses and the bacteria, Dr. Lee Merritt, Sarah Westall. So he wanted you to get into your thoughts and my thoughts about this whole idea of good and bad bacteria being as opposed to just microbes that are pleomorphic in nature and that are building blocks, clean up the crew of physical life as we know it, certain idea. The more I look at it, Steve, what do you think? I just don't get this feeling that I want to try to kill anything in my body. I just don't feel the need. You know what I mean? I don't feel the need to say there's something in there that I don't like. How do you approach that?
Yeah, that's right, Patrick. There are no bad bacteria. They're not bad. They're not out to harm you. And this was proven by Dr. Waite, Dr. Fraser, Dr. Thomas C. Powell, and Dr. Pettenkofer. They ate thousands and thousands of germs. They injected them into their bloodstream. They put them up their nose and their eyes with atomizers. I'm talking about bubonic plague, cholera, anthrax, you name it, all of them. The Spanish flu one, Pfeiffer's bacillus. Bacteria do not make you sick or ill. Now, the byproduct of certain anaerobic bacteria destroying and eating tissue, dead tissue, or rotting tissue, which is their job to help you, the byproduct can create like ammonia gases, toxins, poisons. In fact, vodka, right? If you drink 2 bottles of vodka and all of a sudden you're in the hospital getting your stomach pumped, it's not the bacteria in the vodka. It's the alcohol waste product, the byproduct of fermentation that made that alcohol poisonous. So it's not like, oh, you drank 2 bottles of bacteria and now you're in the hospital. You drank 2 bottles of bacteria waste product, fermentation, and now you're in the hospital because some of the bacteria, 2% of them, can produce toxic stuff. That's what anthrax is. There was that dumb story, remember in 9/11, they said, oh, someone mailed like 2 senators anthrax in the mail, right? You can mail them 200 pounds of anthrax and dump it all over them and have them snort it up at one of their porno cocaine parties. Nothing will happen to them. You have to have the anthrax eat some type of biological tissue and create a waste byproduct.
And that's what's poison, the waste product. That's what gets them?
Yeah, in the middle, you're in Texas, it's pretty hot there.
Yeah.
Go stick a potato salad and a hot dog out in the hot sun garden and leave it for 3 weeks, and there will be anthrax bacteria there. But if you eat that, you'll get sick and maybe die, but it's not the anthrax spores there. It's the byproduct of them just deleting tissue.
So
that's where people get bacteria.
The idea that bacteria are like in pneumonia, it's eating up dead tissue in the lungs that were damaged by whatever, stinking thinking or toxins of other sorts.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's like gangrene, when the gangrene sets in, it's not the bacteria they're calling the gangrene that are getting you sick. It's that because the tissue in your body's dead, the gangrene bacteria start to eat the tissue and they release different toxic gases and different poisonous tissue. And then that goes through your bloodstream and starts to poison the rest of you. That's why they cut your foot off when it's got gangrene. It's because the waste byproduct will go through the rest of your body, and that will cause toxemia. But you can snort gangrene bacteria and eat it and drink it and inject it into you. If it doesn't have any tissue to kill, it's not going to do anything to you. Mm-hmm. And that's what people don't understand. So bacteria is a janitor, and they can go back they are pleomorphic. They can change into spores and fungus and yeast and molds, but they will always go back to a spore form again when the job is done. So that's like in the old days, when they were laying siege to a castle, they would shoot dead, rotting carcasses of animals on the catapults up into the city. But, well, it's not because of the bacteria in the animals. It's that the waste product of a rotting animal will produce very poisonous ammonia gases and other types of things and toxins. Right. So that's why they were using them as quote unquote biological weapons.
What do you make of in Africa? You hear they have these different, what are these wild diseases that go around, or you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Like what are
you're talking like Ebola and all this flesh-eating virus and all this bacteria,
that kind of stuff. And what do you make with those things, whatever they are?
Well, when you start looking deeply into that, it's always found in a place where there's some kind of Western industrial activity going on, and they're just dumping toxins into rivers, or it's getting into water supplies and food supplies or into the atmosphere. Usually there's some type of vaccination program or injection program or experimental medicine program going on. Mm-hmm. Or these people are just dumping filth and garbage into their streams, and they're going down and collecting in garbage piles, and kids are playing in it, right? So again, it's not the germs or the bacteria in all that waste. It's the poison that's doing it. And they're blaming that on the bacteria. It's like blaming the firefighters for fires because you always find them.
Is that the same thing that happened, in your opinion, in research with the Spanish flu, Steve Falconer? The same idea? Something was going on with all these people?
Well, I mean, what happened, according to Dr. Eleanor McBean, what happened with the Spanish flu is, first of all, it was the first time in history that there was a mass vaccination program going on.
Really?
But it was the Reverend Frederick Taylor Gates. Bill Gates, he's actually related to him through his mother's side. His son, Frederick Lamont Gates, started a mass vaccination program for the military. And they were giving them injections of bacterial meningitis vaccines, which is they're basically giving them poisonous injections.
Wow.
And they were giving them several boosters within a week. They were getting 4 to 5 injections within a week. And all these soldiers started getting really sick. And it started making new diseases they had never seen. So they made new vaccines for that and new vaccines for that. So it was a military thing. Now, they said, oh, well, they were catching them in Spain. But the U.S. Army wasn't in Spain during World War I. So the war ended too early, and they had all this surplus of vaccines. So they started telling everyone that these returning soldiers who were sick because they were poisoned with injections were contagious. And people ran out and started getting injected. Now, Eleanor McBean's parents were holistic doctors. So none of them or their friends took any of the injections. Her mother and father went to all the sick houses of the people who had the Spanish flu and were around hundreds and hundreds a day and never brought anything home, never got sick, never got their kids sick, nothing.
My goodness.
Because they didn't take the injections. So the whole Spanish flu, and the numbers are bullshit. I've never seen any proof 50 million or 60 million people died nonsense. But those, and Eleanor McBean said, only the vaccinated died. None of the non-vaccinated did. And even the vaccinated who went to places like Kellogg's and holistic treatment centers, those places had a 99.8% survival rate with their treatments, water flushes and colonics, right? And everyone who went to mainstream doctors, it still only killed 30% of people who went to like real normal allopathic hospitals. It still only had a 30% rate. And again, these were severe toxemia events, right? And they did all the Rosenau and the Goat Island studies where they took all the sick people next to the healthy people and spit in each other's mouth, talked close, injected them in blood. Nobody got sick, not a one.
Wow. What's your understanding of polio? A similar thing?
Same thing. You had lead arsenate. You used to spray all the crops with lead arsenate and then later replaced that with DDT. And you'd get these polio cases. It would always be 3 young kids who lived in a farm town who lived right across the outskirts by all the industrial farming that were crop spraying lead arsenate and DDT, which is highly poisonous, neurotoxin. And it was the same thing. And then it's the same. They kept showing you the same kid with the iron lung and then this one woman. When you look at all the footage, they keep showing you the same one kid. And you're like, what? Really? And most of the kids recovered within a year of doing normal treatment. It was a poisoning, a toxemia event. Yeah. And polio is already on the decline. They do this every time. Sanitation improves. They stop using environmental. Remember, like they used to spray the kids at lunch they used to spray them with all this DDT. Remember that? They were spraying kids, spraying the water supplies, spraying your yard, spraying your kitchen. Pumps on the kids with squirting them with DDT, a neurotoxin. Oh my God, they've got polio, a neurotoxin disease.
When I was a kid, they would run through the neighborhood in the summer with a huge truck with a. Do you remember that? With a big blaster, and it would just spray this DDT, and we were on our bicycles and we would drive right behind it,
Yeah, exactly.
I can't believe how we survived that.
Well, I put all that footage into my film, The End of Germ Theory, if people want to watch that. Again, the reason it was mostly a children's disease is because adults could usually handle that. Now, that's only one cause of polio. There's nutritional deficiency. All the sodas came out at the time. You got your Coca-Colas coming up and sugar and this and that. So, but mostly it was a children's disease because children couldn't handle the toxemia because they were developing. And you see this with diphtheria, polio, meningitis. The disease is already on the decline because they've changed sanitation and the poisoning environments. And then they come out with a vaccine at near almost the very end. And then it finally declines and they go, oh, the vaccine did it. But right after the vaccine, there's always a spike because they're injecting more poisons into people. So this is the oldest scam they do, is they take credit for eradicating a disease by bringing out the vaccine at the end of its eradication anyway, and then the spike the vaccine causes, they rename the disease. So, we eradicated polio, but now there's Guillain-Barré syndrome, and you're like, what's the symptoms? They're like, polio. Oh, meningitis. What's that? Polio. You just keep going. They give it 5 different names, and you're like, it's polio. You're like, how? It's the same exact clinical sickness as polio, but they can claim the vaccine eradicates it because they changed the name. You're like, are you telling me Guillain-Barré syndrome just popped up out of nowhere right after polio got eradicated by the vaccine, and it's the same exact clinical symptoms as polio? Get out of here.
I get goosebumps when I hear you saying that kind of stuff. I mean, boy, imagine the day that when this information about these bacteria and viruses that we all are working on get out there big time. I mean, that's going to be something, right? I think it's got to come out, doesn't it, someday? I mean, it's got to.
It's out now, but the problem is, I don't know, Patrick, because it's been out since the mid-1800s. Yeah. There were anti-vaccination leagues and formations, and they used to call people anti-vaxxers back in the 1800s and early 1900s and demonize them and gaslight them and all the stuff they do now. There's nothing new under the sun. Like everything we just went through the last 3 years has happened over it. This happens all the time, like every 7 years.
What I'm positing is the idea that if mainstream media would ever do it, and they're not likely to because they're owned by the people that are doing it. Right?
You can't even watch the news or the sports are like sponsored by Pfizer. It's like you're watching the news and the news anchor just falls off the end of the desk from a jab, and then they're like, brought to you by Pfizer. Like exactly.
Yeah. You probably
never show it.
You probably heard where they fired Tucker Carlson, and the real story is that they fired him because he did this whole show about the media being complicit in this whole COVID thing and the vaccines because we didn't do our job, is what he said. We didn't report what was going on. That's why he got fired, according to the inside job. But they're blaming it on some lady he worked with who said he was sexist or something. And, they're just making up stories. These people are crazy, amazing.
Yeah. I mean, the real thing is, Pfizer and Fox and CNN and all the mainstream and all the drug companies are really owned by Vanguard and BlackRock.
Yes, they are.
So it's not that the media is owned by Big Pharma. It's that the media and Big Pharma are owned by BlackRock and Vanguard.
They're the big dogs,
right.
Aren't they? Yeah.
So that's why the media has to work together with Big Pharma. It's not Big Pharma paying off the media. It's they both have the same daddy financing them, and daddy won't let you say certain things because daddy's in it for the money. These are investment firms. BlackRock and Vanguard are not philanthropic humanitarian organizations. These people want to make money any way they can. So of course they're not going to tell you. You'll never see this on the mainstream news.
Never going to see it, are we?
Never. And you shouldn't expect it. I meet people like that are like, we're in a paradigm change where even the mainstream media is going to have to start talking about it. I'm like, you are never going to see them.
I agree. Yeah. That's not going to happen, is it? No.
No, you have to be listening to shows like this to be awake.
It's just not going to happen. Yeah. This idea that we get angry or mad at ourselves, I want to go back to in a little bit. I had an experience some months ago that I really got at a deep level, Steve Falconer, that there is no one, nowhere, no entity, no energy, nobody, nothing that matters will tell me that I'm a bad person or did a bad thing. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, I like the Eastern philosophy. They have the Easterners, like the Indian Vedic philosophies, they have Brahma. Now, Brahma's not the creator God that created all of this. Brahma is all of this, the universe or the realm we live in, looking in on itself for experience. So in their philosophy, everything's Brahma. So this is where these gurus and these sadhus, they start laughing when someone starts to have a drama with them and you're having a personal conflict. The sadhu will say, "Come now, Brahma, what game are you playing? Like, what are we playing? You know, it's me and me playing this game together." Because the sadhu knows I'm Brahma and so is the guy having the conflict with me. And so it's just the universe fooling itself to have an experience because it's boring to be omnipresent. So, okay, fine. You know, like you need a little... Yeah.
I think it's
so
the
I
same
like that philosophy, but still, like, you do get mad at people. This is one of the things, a lot of these new agers and these gurus, it's not that once you understand that you're one with everything that you never get mad at people. You just don't like certain people, and people say stuff and it does piss you off. You'll never be so enlightened you don't get pissed off. Even gurus get pissed off at people, especially other gurus. They're always putting each other down.
I was at a party one time. I said, give me one with everything. And he gave me a hot dog with mustard and relish. You know, that's one with everything, baby.
Well, I'm from Chicago, so at least you didn't say ketchup because they'll shoot you for putting ketchup on your hot dog there. But yeah, you're right. Like the thing is, you don't have to be an ultimate goody spiritual enlightened person. There are certain people who are assholes and they will piss you off, and you have every right to be angry at them. The difference is if you hold that, they always say, you know, holding anger is like holding burning coal. It only hurts you in the end.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean initially you cannot be angry at someone. Of course you can. Yeah.
Especially somebody that's trying to poke you in the nose, you know. It's kind of, you know, hurt you or harm you or make you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you'd be silly not to hit them back.
It'd be silly not to hit them back. This is OneRadioNetwork.com with Steve Falconer, Patrick Timpone. We're here on the 25th of April. So let's do this one from Samantha. Oh, Samantha, I love that name. Thanks for having Steve on. It's always fun when you guys get together. What is his opinion of what this great, she's got it in quotes and caps, great reset is all about? I'm sure you got a theory about that, Mr. Falconer.
Yeah, so the Great Reset is also called the Fourth Industrial Revolution. It was called the New World Order. It's called transhumanism. In the old days, it was called technocracy, and before that, it was called eugenics.
Oh,
so again,
all of the above, huh? All of the above.
It's the same. It's all the same. So whenever you hear these words, it's the same thing. Now, again, if you want to get philosophical about it, when you look at who's running all this, it's always Western elites. Because they come from this ideology that they're not from here, that they're not born out of this world, but into this world, they always believe that they know best and can conquer nature, and man can become God and control everything. They can control biology. They can control nature. You know, look at farming and pesticides and all this.
Yeah.
It comes out of this idea that they need to control nature and take it all over, and that we're a nuisance, we're useless eaters, and because they're getting rich off of it too, and they have power, they're from money families. So, but the technocrat people, they're not even the royalty and the Jesuits and the Jewish and other power structures. They hired scientists who try to use all this bogus pseudoscience since the 1800s, but all their science is bogus. So you have to say, well, you can't have a technocratic society that's run on a science if the science you use is bogus, and if the philosophy you people use is that you don't know you come from nature, but that you're better than nature. You have a massive recipe for disaster. And that's what this is. The Great Reset is total control of all energy, which is everything. Your energy, the plants are energy, the food's energy, water's energy. They want to put a unit. This is like quantum physics. There are wave people and there are particle people, right? Like some people think it's all squiggly, and some people think you can take a squiggle. It's like taking an ocean and saying, quantify the ocean. What do you mean? Count the ocean. Well, how do you count the ocean or a cloud? It's doing this all the time, but they just put imaginary points in there and they go, oh, there we go. So they're trying to quantify nature, meaning count it all and give it all a value and distribute it to everybody. You know, this is pretty much communism, really, is what it is. But that's what this is all about. These are control freaks who don't like the idea that everything's squiggly and ever changing, and they're trying to control it and quantify it. And it can't happen because their whole premise is unnatural, and they don't get that do you remember that band Love and Rockets in the 90s?
I don't know. I know.
They had a great song called No New Tale to Tell, Love and Rockets. And the first verse of the song goes, you cannot go against nature, because when you do go against nature, it's a part of nature too.
It's a part of nature. Oh, I see. Because it's all one thing. It's all.
Yeah, you can't go against nature because you are nature.
You are nature.
So
right.
Even going against nature is nature going against itself.
And again, where do these loonies who do all this? How did they think they got here? I missed that part. Did they?
Exactly. Who the fuck do you think you are, mate? You know.
No. But exactly. How did they believe they got here? Is what I'm trying to understand. How did they?
I don't know. I'm
Oh.
not with them. I don't know. But it's the same with the kings who believe they have divine right to rule, or the popes. You know, it's again because they come from these patriarchal models where, I ask the same question, and I think that's what people who are into, you know, sovereignty or libertarianism or whatever are saying. They're saying, who are you to tell me?
Who are you to tell?
Who do you think you are, you know?
Yeah. Do you
really?
see where the WHO is coming out with a thing, and they said, well, we've got it. We're going to do this digital thing, and this is going to be worldwide, and boy, you're going to know if you're vaxxed. It'll be great. It'll be digital, on your phone and all that. I'm not getting.
But they will surveil everything. They will try to count every food unit, everything you do, every action. You'll try to open your fridge, and it'll have a lock on it. No, seriously, they'll say you used your cheese quota, and you won't be able to get on an airplane because you've used your carbon quota, right? So the thing is with the digital currencies, they're not money. We've talked about money a lot, you and I. They're coupons.
You brought that up the first time when we had you on coupons to say, can Steve buy this pizza if he has a high cholesterol or whatever?
Right, yeah. Patrick's money this month can maybe buy cheese or meat, but Steve's money can't because Steve already hit the meat quota because he had a barbecue earlier, right? Or Patrick hasn't traveled out of his 15-minute city zone, so he's got enough carbon credits to maybe take a flight from Texas to New York. But God. Steve can't leave the city because he's already used up. See, and it's the same thing. When you have a coupon for cat food, you cannot go to the supermarket and buy a jug of milk with a cat food coupon. It only works for cat food.
Only works for cat food.
And these control freaks are going to make digital currency programmable coupons where they'll tell you what your money can buy. That's why cash, even though, cash is fiat, and there's got a lot of problems. You and I both don't like fiat currency, but it's a better solution because you can still buy anything with cash.
Right.
Yeah.
So how are we all of us awake people? How are we going to thrive through this digital thing? We're just going to figure out alternative ways to trade stuff, right? We have to.
I think a lot of trade. A lot of us, Ross and I are into the Electro-culture now. So we've set up special gardening using copper and spirals and towers and all that. And within 4 years, your soil will create bananas the size of your leg and cabbage the size of a man.
We interviewed a fellow about that. I'm really fascinated with the electro. You're doing that? Electro-culture?
Yeah, we've done that. We even made little mini copper coils as we seeded in the house first. We grew it, and within 2 days they sprouted, which is crazy. And we did run some test ones on the side where we did an electro, and they didn't sprout right away. So you'll get at least right away 30% better yield and 30% quicker growth. And then as your garden starts to electrify over the years, you will get yield. So the first thing we can do is say there's no food shortage. if we start using electro-culture, copper tools again, copper wiring, well, the whole reason they did this is they used to do electro-culture in the 20s and 30s. And the Farmers Association said, we're going to have too much food and your prices are going to go down.
So tell folks what it is, a big picture, if it's new to them, this term. You're actually using electricity either from the grid or solar. And what does it do to the soil, in the soil?
You're using it from the ether. You're just putting things right into the air.
Oh, that's right, from the ether. Yeah, you're not plugging it into the grid.
Just the air, into the ground. So what it does, it starts sending an electric current down and then magnetizing the ground. So several things happen. One, the little bugs underneath don't like it, so you don't need pesticides because it destroys some of them and most won't come near it. So it stops the use of pesticide. The other thing is it enriches the sap and you don't need as much water and you don't need as much nitrogen because it starts pulling that into the ground. So you don't need nitrogen fertilizer. So the whole Dutch farmer problem solved right there. The other thing is the birds have little crystals in their head. The birds like this. They feel the frequency and they come and they start chirping. And we know when birds and roosters start chirping and crowing, the plants open up for the day's energy of the sun.
That's so great.
Work together.
That's so great.
Right? Yeah. So it eliminates pesticides. It eliminates the need for nitrogen and all this fertilizer and all this other crap. It magnetizes the ground. It enhances the sap. So the sap is the plant's blood. And so these things start growing enormous and healthy and rebudding, and then a lot of people are using what's called biochar now. That's a new thing where you burn wood, and then when it gets almost to charcoal, right? Like the wood's, it's not dust and ash, but it's like a charcoalized stick. Crush that up, and then you just go out and urinate in the thing every time you have to pee and mix it around, and then you can use that as a topsoil. And the charcoal holds in all the minerals and nutrients and plasma from the urine. You can put other animal feces in there if you want. Wow. And then that holds it and slowly releases it. So people are starting to use that now.
And what's that called?
Which they're going to ban because biochar. Charcoal, biochar. Yeah, now they're going to ban that because burning wood is CO2 and, like that. So, that's going to get banned. But the electro-culture they can't ban.
Yeah. I knew that because we interviewed a fellow, but I just kind of morphed into the electricity, the grid just because I went brain dead. But so you're getting this juice from the ether. Is that similar to what they used to do with the castles and everything and how we had electricity 400 or 500 years ago? Same principle? Very
much like that, yeah. And I mean, just putting copper poles and spirals is just one thing. You can also set these 25-foot towers and running magnetic south to north, and it's a little complicated, but you can do things with copper and magnesium, and then several things where the wind vibrations start kicking off, then a battery storage happens, then sunlight bouncing off a geometric shape starts causing temperature differentials, and and so all of a sudden and then that will go all the way down. Then you run those wires under your garden ground from due magnetic south to magnetic north, which is how we set our garden up. And that will run electric charges on 2 meters of either side of that wire. So 2 of those poles will get you 8 meters wide and you can run it as long as you want, 100 miles or 10 meters. And that will charge underground as well. So there's a lot more to it. The electro-culture is really fascinating when you get into it.
I wonder if people that eat animal foods and want to raise animals, they could use that to juice up the grass that the cows are eating or the chickens and all that?
I know a lot of the biochar people, what they're doing is they're throwing they're making the charcoal, they're burning the wood, and then they're throwing that on their chicken feed, and the chickens are eating the charcoal ash, and then they're pooping about biochar all over the ground. If they have free range chickens that are just walking around.
The biochar.
Yeah, their own feces is mixing with the charcoal they're feeding them, and they're just walking around pooping biochar all over the ground, and then it rains and goes in. So people are getting really clever. There's a lot of things. So that's one of the things we can do is if you can get out of the cities, start using electro-culture, grow enough food where you can trade. Why have a potato that big when you can have one this big and you can, so food trading. Yeah, trading's going to happen. You're big on gold and silver, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's another thing. I'm big on also privacy crypto. Dero's going to probably go up 200%. So now that all these banks are crashing, the millionaires are figuring out they're going to lose their money, and they're looking to put it into privacy crypto coins right now. So you're looking at Dero and Monero, Pirate Chain. These are going to go up. Now, the problem is Cyber Polygon is all about, they're going to do fake cyber attacks so that you need biometrics to get online.
Oh, good.
So the problem with crypto is no matter how much privacy crypto you have, if you can't get online to get it and trade it, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So you're going to need someone in your community who's still in the system or on the grid, you know. But people will get it. I had a friend who told me this, I don't know, 25 years ago, and I didn't get what he was talking about. He said, Steve, and he designs computers, and this guy's a real techno nerd. He said, like, one day hackers will be like save the world. And I didn't understand what he meant, but I get it. What he means is when all this, it's like that movie Minority Report. Remember with Tom Cruise?
Sure.
And then they're on to him, so he has to go to that guy and get like somebody else's eyes put into him. You remember that, surgically inserted? That's what this guy meant, is that when the system tries to lock you out, you're going to need to know a hacker who can get you a fake way into the system, you know, to maneuver. And this guy was onto this 25 years ago when I didn't even know what the heck was going on yet in the world, you know. But
so you think these forces would try to lock the whole thing up someday just to make us have a bad hair day? I mean, that's their plan?
Well, it's part of the control, yeah, because they can't take down the internet, because the whole 5G and smart city system runs on the internet. Yeah.
Right.
It's everything, every food, every person, every product, your toaster, your shower. You have used your 2 minutes of warm water carbon. Your shower is going to turn off the hot water, you know, after 2 minutes. They need the internet to run this, which is why they need 5G. They need millimeter waves, because the amount of data they're going to be transmitting is a trillion-fold to what gets transmitted now over 4G or 3G. So they can't just turn the internet off on you. So what they're going to do is like a Chinese social credit system score. You'll need biometrics to get on the internet, and they'll say that's your digital ID, and it's for your safety to make sure no one can falsely assume your identity. And you're like, I don't care if someone falsely assumes my identity. Like, it's not for my safety. But they're going to sell it to everyone like that. And it will be like that very soon. You'll turn on your computer and it's going to want to scan your retinals to get you on.
Oh, good.
And if Big Brother doesn't like you, they're not going to let you into your crypto account and all that.
That's exciting. So this all ties in. I've been thinking quite a bit about artificial intelligence, and it's like everywhere now. Everybody's talking about it, right? And I think it's brilliant what they're doing, Steve. In their name, artificial intelligence, you're selling the idea that this is intelligent, and in my opinion, it's not intelligent. There's nothing intelligent about it. It's dumb as a rock, right? It's just a relational database. That's all it is. That's all any of this stuff is, right? It's like Windows. Windows isn't smart. And there's nothing smart about it. We are smart.
Well, that's the funny thing is it's an oxymoron, isn't it? Because they're telling you it's artificial means fake.
Right. And then
so artificial intelligence means fake intelligence, so it's not intelligent.
It's not intelligent. There's nothing intelligent about it. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's just a database. And whoever programs a database is playing God, right? That's what they're doing.
Exactly. So if you control all the internet and the information on it, where it's getting its answers, now the stuff it can do with that information is crazy.
No, it's pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing will be, right now there's only this GBT or whatever they call it.
GBT, something like that. Yeah.
Wait till there's like 5 or 6 of these things, and then we start sicking them on each other. It'll be interesting to see if they start competing and trying to take each other out, you know, or will they work together, right? We haven't even seen like the tip of how crazy this whole thing can go. But I'm with you right now. They're not intelligent. The question is, could they really learn by us interacting with them? Right now, they're getting everything off the internet. But if you keep querying them and say, nope, that's not what I'm looking for. I want this. Nope, I want this. If humans keep interacting with them, will they learn?
But isn't intelligence critical thinking, which is really a spiritual thing? It's not a physical thing. You and I as souls, we, like you said, with the ethics and moral, we have the ability to make a decision if this is good for you, this is good for me, this is good for Steve, this is good for somebody in Zimbabwe. Computers can't do that. They can't do that.
Not right now. Do you think they'll learn to do it, or what do you think?
I don't think so. No, I don't think it, because it takes an awareness. It takes spirituality. It takes souls, right? And they're not souls. They just aren't. So I don't think they'll ever do it. They'll trick people into believing that they are, but I don't think they'll do it.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I don't have very much faith in them, but they, they're great. There are people. I had a buddy. He asked it to write up a gardening plan. He said, "Write me a gardening plan for these many hectares and blah 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 blah." Right. And in a matter of seconds, this thing kicked out a pretty damn good plan.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's things that it could be used for. Yeah. Is it going to go all Skynet and take us over and kill us and stuff? I don't think so, but I don't know. I'm just watching. I'm just watching it. I'm interested in it. I love it, but I'm not an expert on AI.
Yeah. Oh, and neither am I.
Yeah.
That's One Radio Network with Steve. Well, Steve, thanks for coming on. It's always fun to have you here. You little rascal. What are you going to do tonight?
Yeah. I love it, man. Thanks, Patrick. Sorry again about my voice. I lost it over the weekend singing, but
it's fine.
Hopefully it was bearable for the listeners. But have me back again. I'd love to come back, please.
It's always fun. We have you full screen there. Tell folks about what you do and where they find your material and how they support you, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you can find I'm a filmmaker, and our channel is Space Busters on BitChute and Odyssey. We do have a Rumble channel. Oh, we're also on Vigilante TV, Vigilante.tv. That's Jeff Berwick, Dollar Vigilante's station. And we do have a YouTube channel. We don't get to post much. And I'm the author of The Dukes of Dents, illustrated by Tracy Northern, children's book on all Amazons in every country. Sorry, I had to use...
The Dukes of Dents sounds like it would be a great... animated feature film. Maybe I'll do that someday with you.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great?
It would be great.
Yeah. No,
it's very much like Dr. Seuss. It's like Dr. Seuss with a little bit of a deeper morality to it, or ethics.
Not all woked up, if you will.
It's not woke, it's awake. Yeah.
It's awake. Yeah, we should do it. We should do it. What do you call it? Animated thing on that sometime.
I'd love it. Yeah, that would be great. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, well, that's what my new business. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. That's what we're doing.
All right. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Let me know. Let's do it together if you figure out how.
Yeah. Well, I'll figure it out. We'll get some money together and do it, man. Well, Steve, thanks a lot. It's really an honor to have you here. You take care of yourself. Let me know if you need something. Coffee, sugar, ammo, whatever.
Gold. What was that? Warren Zevon. Was it send lawyers, guns, and money?
Yeah. Right when you get work, right? All right, kiddo. Yeah. Thanks a lot, brother. Take care of yourself.
All right, Patrick. Nice to talk to you, man. I'll talk to you again soon.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
All right.
Steve Falconer, OneRadioNetwork.com. He's a fun guy. He's just great to talk to.